Thank you all for coming. I'm Larry Moten, the president. We're delighted to provide a forum for our good friend John Stossel to talk about his new book, No They Can't, Why Government Fails But Individuals Succeed. And here to introduce John today is his colleague and intellectual collaborator, Judge Andrew Napolitano. As you all know, Judge Napolitano is a Fox News senior judicial analyst, providing daily analysis on the Fox News and Fox Business channels. The judge is the youngest life-tenured Superior Court judge in the history of the state of New Jersey, serving on the bench from 1987 to 95. He also served as an adjunct professor of constitutional law at Seton Law School for many years, and he has published 6 books on government and the law, and they're all terrific, by the way. His latest book, published last fall, is titled, It is Dangerous to be Right When the Government is Wrong. Great titles. The Case for Personal Freedom. Please join me in welcoming a true champion of economic and individual liberty, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
My friend Voltaire suggested that title. It's nice to be here. The young lady with whom I'm seated said they're going to make you sing for your lunch, so you better do a good job in introducing this character, Stossel. This character, Stossel, and I first met, he probably doesn't remember this, in 1969 when I was a freshman and he was a senior, not at the institution after which this place is named, but at the one up the block, the colors of which are black and orange. We were students at Princeton together. Now, John had long hair, was running a newspaper, a left-wing rag called the Daily Princetonian, and was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Burn it down, baby." That's all right. I had a crew cut. I was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Bomb Hanoi." Since then, the two of us have answered that siren call of human freedom and have devoted our careers to the defense of it. I had the privilege of doing so on the bench in the Superior Court in New Jersey and in New Jersey's and New York City's courtrooms. John has done so on television like no other person has. John, as you know, is the recipient of 19 Emmys. Most of my colleagues would kill to have one. John has 19. Why does he have 19 Emmys? Because he is intellectually honest, utterly steadfast, and always on top of his game. I'm going to give you a little example. The other day, I was at Princeton University listening to a speech by George Will. He was comparing the presidencies of the two Princetonians who became president, Woodrow Wilson and James Madison. You can imagine which one he favored, thank goodness. Seated next to me is a woman that keeps poking me in the ribs every time Will says something that blasts Wilson or praises Madison. At the end of the speech, she says to me, you should tell Stossel that he should come down here and do one of his shows at Princeton. There'd be 1,000 students screaming to hear him. And I said to her, really? She said, yes, look, when you and Stossel were students here, maybe you were the only two libertarians, but that's not the case now. I'm thinking to myself, is this some nut job or is this some lady that I should know who she is talking about Stossel like this? I said, by the way, madam, my name is Andrew Napolitano. She said, yes, I know who you are. I'm Shirley Tillman, the president of Princeton University. So there's your invitation, John. One day I was getting a little carried away on air. One day I was getting carried away on air. And I used a phrase that I really believe in. I know there are arguments on the other side, and I know not everybody in this room will agree with me, but I happen to utter the phrase, taxation is theft. Oh, John calls me up. He goes, Judge, you're killing me. I said, what do you mean I'm killing you? He said, when you say something like taxation is theft, my inbox is filled with emailers saying, why don't you say that kind of stuff? John is a champion of human freedom, who has the gift of explaining it in a way that everybody can understand and nobody can find him disagreeable. The other day I was looking at a piece of literature, something from Reason, advertising some speech that I'm going to be giving in November. And there was a picture in this Reason publication of John Stossel just about 2 or 3 months ago playing volleyball on a beach in California with a bunch of 19-year-olds. Now, if you blinked your eyes 3 times, you couldn't tell which of them was, fill in the blank, John's age, and which of them was the 19-year-old. There are times when I look at him and I say, that's what I want to look like when I grow up. I know when I was on the bench, I used to say, that's what I want to be like when I grow up. And now I can say, he is the man I admire most. He is my friend, my colleague, and my mentor, John Stossel.
Wow, Andrew, thank you. That is very kind. And I should say I interviewed him for my first TV special when I was nervously branching out in your direction. And he was so quiet and careful and timid that we couldn't use it. He's changed since then. He is far more brilliant on the principles of liberty than I in terms of the law. I come at it as a consumer reporter, not from really understanding it, but just seeing how life worked and approach the economic side of it. And that's what No They Can't is about. And by the way, you say that people at Fox would love to get Emmys. They don't give Emmys to people at Fox. Emmys are garbage. They give them to socialist reporters who bash business. That's how I won those 19 Emmys. Then I wised up. Then I stopped winning any Emmy awards. The No They Can't on the cover of my book is a play off of the last election campaign where there was all that excitement about the magic politician who said, yes, we can. And the intensity of that was extraordinary. And frankly, it's all great if we means free people, but we in their minds, and in many people's minds, has come to mean the state. And this is really a bad idea. But as I've come to learn, it's intuitive that maybe you understand life doesn't work that way, but to most people, I mean, there's all this polling information. People don't trust government. Congress has a 12% approval rating. That may be true, but the next time the crisis happened, people's instinctive reaction is that government's got to do something. I mean, think about after September 11th. We have to take over airport security. Tom Daschle said you can't professionalize if you don't federalize. It was instinctive. People were scared. The screeners had let these people go through. In fact, they had obeyed all the FAA rules. The small knives they brought on and the box cutters were legal. The unlocked cockpit doors, that was all legal. But nevertheless, they were minimum wage workers often and private profit-seeking contractors. People viewed that as a risk. And so now we get the TSA. And how's that working out for us? So you know your experience with it. I didn't realize the extent of it. It goes well beyond that. How much more do they spend than the private screeners? Not twice as much. 10 times as much they now spend. And in the law, they put in a part that said, if your city wants to opt out and go back to the system that Israel uses and Europe uses and most of the world uses, which is private contractors competing under government supervision, which of course is better because they have to compete, and you can fire them if they're bad. You can't fire the government. It creates some flexibility. If you want to do that, just ask the TSA, and you can. And a couple places have. Kansas City, the largest is San Francisco. So we go to San Francisco to shoot, and we interview people, and they say things like, gee, these screeners are nicer. And the line moves more quickly. And TSA undercover studies have found that they are much more likely to catch contraband in San Francisco than the government screeners are. And why is that? Do we look into it? Well, it's a private contractor who knows he has to work hard to keep the job. And he does all kinds of innovative experiments. They run contests where the best screener can win $2,000. Who can find the contraband fastest? Who can pack the bag most quickly? They then, to keep the airports happy so they get hired next year, they shift screeners around so the line keeps moving. So all these other airports want to get these private screeners, which is legal under the law, and they apply for permission to the TSA. The TSA ignores them.